Hello everybody. Welcome to this day, welcome to this moment. And today I want to talk to you about calls to actions. This was a question that came up from one of the participants in the training last week. It's a topic that I enjoy actually, because it's kind of a little bit overlooked. And I think it's also a topic that it really puts us in the position of having to hold space. Calling people to action is actually holding space already. One thing is calling your audience in, which is what happens on the homepage. And then another thing is when they are already inside your online home, you call them to action. So there are different steps that you do as you hold space on your website as the business owner. And this is something that sometimes we just get a little worried about, being too pushy, too salesy. The flavor of what we're saying doesn't feel right. So there's different ways of calling people to action, but there's always a previous invitation. So we want to basically invite people first and then call them to action. So it's easy to demonstrate on my website what I call the invitation and what I call the actual call to action. So I'm going to be sharing my screen. So I'm just picking pretty much any page on my website. And I always recommend, before I go to my website, actually, I always recommend that the actual call to action is simple. You don't get creative and have a different call to action each time on each page, especially if you are not a sophisticated, structured business. If you are a more, multi-layered business and you have courses and, different things and several sales pages, then you can be a little bit more creative or more sophisticated. But in this case, even on my website, I try to keep it simple, and I tend to have one call to action literally throughout the whole website. So it keeps it really simple. And people get accustomed as well to my tone of voice and to how I hold them and to how I guide them. So I'm going to share my screen. And so this is one of my services. And when we go down here, you can see book your clarity call. It's not even a button. It's very subtle in my kind of style. Some people have buttons, and I have some buttons in places. So these bit here, would you like to experience my exquisite witnessing? That is the invitation that I was talking about. Okay, so that's the invitation, and this is the call to action. And when we go down here again, the same thing happens. Book your free clarity call. On some of them it says book your clarity call, and on some of them it says book your free clarity call. I think it's probably a mistake I made. It's not really intentional. Or maybe I wasn't really making up my mind if I wanted to say free or not. So, you've got to pick up on the nuances of what you're doing as well when you are, telling people, hey, come, book your clarity call. I want to talk to you. Okay. So first I have an invitation. Become Soul Magnetic Online, book your clarity call. So once they go to this page here, again, what we're doing is we're holding space. I'm not telling them, message me and we can chat, and then we just do a ping pong of emails and then we find the time to chat. I don't tell them inquire for more information. I am very clear and I am holding space and I am telling them what we're going to do next, because then people feel like, oh, okay, that's the plan. Yeah. And you want to be doing the same. So I'm telling them, you're going to get clarity on your project. Then I tell them, join me. Yeah, that's partly inviting on this complimentary 30-minute clarity session. And this is what we're going to do. And then I'm telling them, this is a benefit you're going to have if, and then I'm also clarifying, it's offered to prospective clients ready to move forward. It's not like a coffee chat to meet me and check me out. It's more like, it's a transformational call to see if we want to work together, both them and me. So you can see that in 2 sentences, I'm offering a lot of clarity about what's going to happen, what the steps are. And that's what you want to do. And then here I go very instructional, do X, Y, Z, do la, la, la. And then I end up with a very warm, personal note, okay? And there's still book your clarity call. So that is for calls to actions. If you want to see the sequence of event that happens, then they fill in this form, which what happens is it filters people. The ones that can't be bothered to fill it on, then obviously they're not really a good match. And the ones that are really interested to work with me, they're going to fill it up because, that is how it works. Then I go to the call with all that information. And then I don't have to be asking them questions. I've got a bit of a picture of what happens. I've got a bit of a intuitive sense of where we can go and what direction they want to be moving forward. But when you have a thorough questionnaire like that one, it's because the engagement with the client is going to be for a period of time, right? Mine is 3 to 4, 5 months sometimes. But if you are simply booking a one-off session, 2 sessions or even 3 sessions, you can't have a very long form because you're going to put people off. So you also have to measure how much of a barrier, because in a way that the form is both a barrier to filter, but also it's for the benefit of the client to make the most of their time when they really meet me. So you want to kind of decide how much you want to be asking them and how little you want to be asking them. Yeah, in the beginning, when I was starting, I didn't really care. I wanted everybody to talk to me. Hey, Anastasia, hello, nice to see you there. So when I wanted to book loads of people and I didn't have many clients, I would do bookings, and I'll book clarity calls and I wouldn't filter people so much, because in the practice of talking to people, in the practice of having these clarity calls, I was also learning who I wanted to work with and who I didn't want to work with. So calls to action and forms and everything that happens in that contact page is really important, because people are kind of almost nearly with you, yeah? They are at the door and they're just like literally going to knock on the door and say, hey, I'm keen. So that step is fundamental, and you can pay a lot of attention to what happens there. So just to get clear on what I was saying, first of all, find the moments where you can direct to the call to action. You don't want to, when you tell them book a call to action or buy a product, it's a bit like give me your money or, make a commitment. So when we are on the homepage of a website, yeah, you don't want to be saying right at the top, give me your money, make a commitment. It's a bit like when we're dating. Yeah, you go first for a coffee, then maybe you go for dinner, and then, you go out for a while, then you're committed, and then it's like, let's get married. This is the same thing, maybe in less steps. It's like you have to intuitively feel into the rhythm of your website to know what calls to action to have. Of course, when I'm doing a website, I know exactly what calls to action to have, and where are the relevant places I want to direct people? You know, sometimes the about story of a client is very relevant to clients identifying and booking with them. So their about story is super relevant. So the prospective client needs to go to the about story so they can really feel that connection and then book. In my case, for example, I'll probably be directing clients a lot to my portfolio, because my portfolio is one of the things that a lot of people want to see if they resonate with. So aside from your homepage, there's always going to be another important page. Maybe simply go to your services, you know, to your one offer or to your 3 offers, but don't overwhelm people with 1,000 calls to actions. Yeah. It's simpler to have less calls to actions and add them later than to have loads and to try and clean it up afterwards. So if you are building your website at the moment, decide the words that are really aligned to you, to the way you speak, to the way you direct clients in your holding, and then use those words. I have a mix of softness and instructional, because that's how I work with clients. My holding is like really leaning back and holding, and then when it's enough, kind of circling and being creative and being like expansive with words and with images. Okay, let's rein it all back, and I take charge and I begin the design, and it's all, this is it. So, you know, there's again this dance that you can have with your wording and your images on the website about combining your type of language. Some of my clients are, they have mostly a power language. So most of the website is very instructional. It's not bossy, it's a really, really, really strong holding. There's very little invitations. It's more like join this training and book here. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just the energy of the business, which you need to understand and align with, is what is the energy of your business to feel into whether you can have that type of language or you need to have a softer language. But I don't want you to have only the softer language out of fear of being salesy. I want you to kind of align in your soul essence energy, the soul essence of your brand, of course, and you, if you are the business, to actually birth the right words that align with your tone of voice online. So I hope this is helpful. I hope that it answers the questions about calls to actions. Of course, let me know if you have any other questions in the thread. And I hope to see you very soon. Thanks.